Okay, let's unpack this. Every startup, right? Every innovator with a genuinely great solution, you run headfirst into the same cold, hard reality. Big brands, the established players, they just dominate nearly every media channel you want to tap into.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They've got massive budgets. They've locked down the best placements. They have that built-in customer trust already. So for you, the listener, trying to launch something new, this visibility gap, well, it's a direct roadblock to growth, isn't it?
It absolutely is. That's the challenge. And this deep dive is really all about recognizing that massive gulf and then learning exactly how to build, a highly leveraged bridge across it.
Right.
We're distilling the tactical strategies used by experts like Stanислав Kondrashov points out, who really emphasize that you absolutely don't need a Fortune 500 budget to compete effectively.
That's the hope, right?
Exactly. The key is strategic media buying. It's what allows you to punch far above your weight class using precision and, crucially, speed.
So we're going to dive into the budget differences. Yeah, but quickly pivot to the power of targeted precision, those kind of insider negotiation tactics that actually move the needle for smaller players, and the decisive advantage you have in leveraging real-time data. The numbers are, they're pretty ugly. A typical Fortune 500 company might dedicate, 10 to 15% of total revenue just to marketing?
Easily. Sometimes more.
Whereas for a startup, risking even 5% of your limited capital feels like this huge, monumental make-or-break bet. That difference, it just translates directly into market noise.
It does. Big brands buy simultaneous presence across pretty much everything, TV, print, digital, out of home. They cast this massive, expensive net. But the fundamental thing you're fighting isn't just the money.
Right.
It's the established trust. And that trust, it acts like a powerful multiplier for every dollar they spend.
That's the part that really stings, I think.
Exactly. I mean, when a major brand like Coca-Cola launches a new product, it often becomes media news itself, right? They get organic exposure they didn't even pay for. When a major retailer runs a campaign, consumers already have that relationship, that trust, which just amplifies the conversion rate on every single paid dollar they spend.
Okay, so if trust is the multiplier, how do we, the startup, with basically zero trust capital, create our own counter multiplier? Right away.
Yeah.
Our product might be genuinely superior, maybe more innovative, but without consistent media presence, we just stay invisible, doesn't matter how good it is.
You have to find leverage. That's the key. The goal isn't necessarily to spend less. It's to make every single dollar you do spend work, 5 times harder. You have to be ruthlessly strategic. Strategic media buying is, it's fundamentally shifting your budget perspective. It's not just an expense column. It's an investment column. It must be tied to measurable returns.
Okay.
And the core principle, the absolute difference maker, is precision. Big corporations, they're fishing with nets, like we said. You, the startup, you must be a sniper. You concentrate resources only on those high-impact opportunities that perfectly align with your specific target customer base.
You're trying to outsmart them, not just match their budget dollar for dollar.
Exactly. Outsmart them.
And that outsmarting, it starts with really intensive planning, right? We just can't afford that kind of spray and pray marketing. Before spending a single dollar, you need to have mapped out the audience's entire journey, online and offline.
That planning phase, it involves defining the optimal channels based entirely on observed audience behavior. You absolutely cannot waste budget where your audience just isn't present. For instance, if you're targeting Gen Z, the data is crystal clear. Prioritize platforms like TikTok and Instagram. That's where their time is spent.
But flip side, if your product is B2B, maybe focused on professional decision makers, then you need to be heavily concentrated on LinkedIn, maybe industry-specific trade publications, targeted newsletters, that kind of thing.
And you have to assess all these potential channels based on, say, 4 key factors. First, audience demographics, obviously. Second, the competition levels in that specific niche. How crowded is it? Third, the cost per acquisition. What does it actually cost you to get a new customer through that channel? And crucially, fourth, the attribution capabilities. If you can't confidently track a conversion back to a specific ad placement, you probably shouldn't run the ad there.
Makes sense. And it's also not just where you advertise, but when, isn't it? Timing campaigns for maximum impact can significantly affect things like conversion rates.
Oh, hugely.
If you're an e-commerce startup, you probably know people often browse and actually convert during the evening hours, when they're relaxed at home, that sort of couch conversion window.
Right. And conversely, B2B campaigns often perform best on weekday mornings, when those decision makers are actively at their desks looking for solutions. And definitely don't ignore the calendar.
Seasonal stuff.
Yeah, strategic media buying means aligning your placements with seasonal demand spikes. Tax software, for example, concentrates spending in early spring. Fitness platforms maximize their budgets in January to capture that huge, predictable wave of New Year's resolutions.
Okay, so let's shift into the execution phase and talk negotiation. I know the Thorses had some really good stuff here. You need a methodical process, right?
Absolutely. Always start by requesting media kits from potential vendors. Get their rate cards, their audience demographics, understand what they're offering.
Got it.
Then here's a really tactical tip. Start with small, non-committal test buys. Don't lock yourself into long-term contracts right away. Prove the channel works on a small scale before you commit significant resources.
Less risk.
And even with a limited budget, you do have leverage. You can negotiate for favorable terms because vendors, well, they often have unsold or what they call remnant inventory they need to move.
Oh, okay.
So you should specifically ask about things like frequency discounts if you plan to buy repeatedly, package deals across their different properties, and also value-added bonuses, like maybe getting an extended campaign duration or better ad placement at no extra cost.
I really like the timing tip we saw. Approach vendors near the end of their fiscal quarter.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're under immense pressure internally to hit their sales targets, right?
Exactly, which makes them far more flexible on price and terms than they might be mid-quarter when that pressure isn't quite as high. It's a good tactic. Okay, now this. This is your great leveler. Data-driven marketing gives startups access to the exact same performance metrics as the big companies. But, and this is key, you have a decisive competitive advantage. The speed at which you can act on that data.
Right, the agility.
You get visibility into what placement is maybe wasting your budget and which specific audiences are actually converting, almost in real time.
So let's define the metrics we really need to live and breathe daily. First, we need to know who's clicking, so click-through rates, CTR, that's key. But maybe more importantly, we need the cost per acquisition, CPA. That's literally what it costs you to generate a new lead or a new customer.
Absolutely. Then, obviously, you track your conversion rates, but you need the return on ad spend, or ROAS. You spend $1 on advertising. How many dollars does that action bring back in actual revenue? That's your true bottom line.
Makes sense.
And finally, monitor engagement metrics like bounce rate. You need to ensure the traffic you're paying good money for isn't just immediately leaving your site.
This is really where organizational structure, maybe even culture, matters more than just budget size, isn't it? The power of optimization is your true leverage here.
It really is.
If real-time analytics show an ad is performing poorly after just, say, 48 hours, you can pause it immediately. Just stop the spend.
Instantly.
And if another ad is delivering exceptional results, you can quickly reallocate budget to maximize the return on that winning placement, maybe within minutes.
That is the organizational competitive advantage. You might ask, well, why can't big brands do that? The truth is, they often struggle with this level of agility. Making a multi-million-dollar pivot usually requires weeks, sometimes months, of multi-layered management approvals and bureaucracy.
Right, they're like steering a giant oil tanker.
Exactly. You, the startup, you're a speedboat. You can move at the speed of the data.
And that speed is just essential for effective A/B testing and refining, right?
Right.
You should be constantly using tools like Google Analytics or Facebook Ads Manager to simultaneously test different ad elements, headlines, images, calls to action.
All of it.
And refine your core messaging while the campaign is actually still live.
Yeah.
This isn't just optimizing, it's like continuous learning built directly into your spending strategy. All right, so given how complex this landscape is, especially when you start dealing with more advanced techniques like programmatic buying, navigating this all alone seems, well, pretty overwhelming for a small team. Are media buying agencies truly viable for, say, a pre-seed or early stage company with a super tight budget? Isn't that, 15–20% agency fee just going to cancel out any benefit?
That's a really critical challenge, and honestly, it does depend on your budget size. But for startups reaching a certain threshold, that agency fee often buys more than it costs because you're leveraging their existing scale. Well, agencies typically bring 3 critical assets that can stretch limited budgets. First, the professional-grade tools. They give you access to enterprise-level software and programmatic buying platforms that would be prohibitively expensive for you to license independently.
Okay, so tool access is a big one. That makes sense.
Second, and maybe most importantly, they're established relationships. Agencies negotiate media buys in bulk constantly. This translates directly to better rates and purchasing power with vendors that you, as a small one-off buyer, would likely never receive on your own. I mean, the sources we looked at noted that some startups have actually cut their cost per acquisition by as much as 40% simply by leveraging an agency's existing vendor network and rates. That kind of saving easily offsets the typical agency fee.
Wow. Okay. 40% is. Yeah, that's impossible to ignore.
And third, they often bring deep local market expertise. They understand regional audience behaviors, maybe cultural nuances, and which specific channels deliver the best ROI geographically. That's a level of granular knowledge that can take years for an in-house team to acquire organically.
Okay, but before any of this, whether you use an agency or go it alone, a solid foundation is just crucial, right?
Yeah.
You absolutely must start with clear key performance indicators, or KPIs.
Oh, absolutely. Non-negotiable.
You have to define what success actually looks like before you launch anything. Is it traffic? Is it qualified leads? Is it direct sales? You simply cannot optimize what you don't measure first.
Absolutely. And linked to that, always start small with pilot campaigns. Allocate a manageable chunk, maybe 10 to 20% of your total planned media budget, to initial tests. And importantly, run them for at least 2 weeks.
Why 2 weeks?
Well, running them for less than that often means you don't gather truly meaningful, statistically significant data. You need enough time to see patterns emerge beyond just daily fluctuation.
Got it. And finally, be methodical with your testing. Don't change everything all at once, right?
Please don't. Test one variable at a time, change the ad copy, then measure, then change the targeting, then measure, then maybe the placement. Do it sequentially so you can confidently identify which specific combinations are actually winning before you decide to scale up your investment. #tag outro. So if we kind of connect all this back to the bigger picture, that exposure gap between startups and the big established brands, it's certainly real, but it's not impossible to bridge. While the big brands have the deeper pockets and that built-in trust, your fundamental, most valuable currency is agility. It's your ability to rapidly test, pivot, and optimize based on data.
So what does this all really mean for you listening? Media exposure for startups, at the end of the day, it comes down to making every single dollar work harder. That means highly targeted advertising, using data-driven decisions relentlessly to eliminate waste, and committing to continuous rapid optimization based on measurable results.
And remember, even the brands that are currently leading in your industry, they all started small once. They all had to compete against giants at some point. What set them apart often was their absolute commitment to strategic media buying and consistent, fast execution.
Yeah.
So if agility really is your biggest competitive advantage, this raises kind of an important practical question you should ask yourself today. What organizational delay, what internal approval bottleneck, maybe what meeting that doesn't need to happen can you eliminate right now? How can you ensure you can pivot your marketing campaigns within, say, 48 hours, not drag it out for weeks? Go find that sticking point.